Hello everyone, this is Brandon, the guy trying to learn Japanese. Today we're going to do the next 30 kanji that we had set up. So we're going to do kanjis 31 to 60. I'm going to show you this site called Jisho. I'll leave the link for it down in the description. This is just an online kanji dictionary or Japanese dictionary in general. There's a lot of different stuff you can look it up, but we're going to use it for kanji today. And we're going to just go over all of them, all of the 30. So we're going to start with heavens today, and the first thing I want you to notice about this website is the onyomi and the kunyomi readings, and the onyomi is always in katakana because it's always a borrowed word, it's the Chinese word, and the kunyomi is always in hiragana because it is the domestic or Japanese pronunciation. So we're going to start with heavens. So as I was explaining before, if you go to Tofugu, learning kanji, they'll explain the method that we're going to use. I'll also put this link down in the description. They talk about using mnemonics and radicals combined together, so we're going to continue to use that. So basically all kanji are made up of radicals, and radicals are the smaller symbols that also usually are separate kanji but not always, and they combine those together to create other kanji. We're going to take those and also take the way that we see the pictographs inside these kanji. We're going to combine those together, and we're going to kind of create a story for ourselves so that we can remember these more easily. So the first one we're going to start with is sky right here, or heavens. So if we look at the radicals here, it has the radical for big and the radical for one. So you can see it right there. There's the big one, and then there's the one on top. If we think of it as the one greatness, you can kind of think of heaven or the sky like that. So that's how I like to think of this kanji. That's my mnemonic for this kanji, the one big thing. And then I think sky or heaven. If we look at the pronunciation, we've got amatsu, and we've got 10 for the onyomi. If we look at the word for sky or heaven, it's 10. So I'll show you the reading compounds here. You can look up different words that are compounds, or amatsu is heavenly or imperial. The next one we're going to look at is life, genuine, and birth. Those are the different meanings. There's not always one meaning because it's not really a word so much as is like a meaning, if that makes sense. So it doesn't always translate directly into like one word in English. Sometimes there's a few that it can kind of mean, and especially when it's used in different compounds, because those different compounds might use it slightly differently. If we look at this one here, the onyomi is sei, and if we look at the word for life, that is also sei. And then if we look at the word for to live, it's ikiru, which is the kunyomi. For this one, we're not going to quite look at this kanji right away, but I will show you a different kanji here. Right here. So I think of it, this is how I think of it. I think it kind of looks like, so this is actually its own radical. It doesn't really have any parts, but I think of it like king, and then it's not really king because it extends over the top there, but I think of it like king and then this little dash here. So I think of king as the bringer of life. That's how I seem to remember it, but you could probably think of another mnemonic for yourself that would work better. The next one we're going to look at is flower. So this one has a few different parts down here. We're not really going to look at any of them because I actually don't find that they help me. The way I like to look at this one is the next one is grass, and that is like early little tiny things, like the grass grows early. It's kind of how I think of that one. But if we take the symbol on top, which it looks like grass to me. It looks like ground and grass sticking out of the ground there. This one just kind of looks like grass, and then this thing on the left kind of looks like a flower. So that's kind of how I view this one. The kunyomi is hana, and actually the kunyomi is used for the singular kanji in this one. So when you say flower, it's hana. So hana is flower, and and the onyomi is ka. So I like to think of that as like a little grass and then the flower sticking out. We already talked about the next one, which is going to be, I think of it as like early sprouts. That's what I think, like sprouts coming out of the ground. The kunyomi for this is kusa, and the onyomi, which I also like to have Google Translate open, so that if I forget what the katakana is, because I'm not as comfortable with katakana, I can toss it over there.
So.
And so it's so for the onyomi. So means draft or rough copy, and that's if you read it with the onyomi, and if you read it with the kunyomi, it means grass or weed, which is kusa. The other thing I wanted to mention is that if you're following Anki and you downloaded it and downloaded the flashcard pack that we saw in the previous show, I'm going to be going over the kanji in that order. So these ones here are going to be the ones that would be next to show up on Anki. Anki is kind of something you do all the time. You just kind of always look at it and keep up on your flashcards. They populate over the day, and you just want to stay on top of that. So I'm not going to go through that on this channel this video, because I've already shown you that before, and I just want you to kind of do that all the time. I've been doing it all the time, so that's something that I'm going to be continuously doing. So in this video, we're just going to go over each one once, whereas that application, you go over the same ones every day. It keeps adding them to the stack that you're going to do, so it's going to get longer and longer, but also it's going to push them farther and farther. It gets longer if you keep getting them wrong, but it gets shorter if you keep getting them right. Then we've got insect, or bug, and this is also its own thing, but I kind of like to think of it like beetles are divided in two, like they got the head. So this is if we remember that this is the kanji for middle, and that's how I like to think of it in a weird way. It's like a bisected little bug. You can even think of it like if you've ever bisected a bug when you were a kid. That's kind of dark, but you could think of it like that. That might help you remember it, like cutting the little bug in half. It looks like a little ant or something down here at the bottom. And the one for this one is mushi. So mushi means bug. I believe that's mushi. Here, let's see if I'm wrong. Yeah. Mushi. And yeah, so that's the kunyomi, and the onyomi, I believe that is chu. Oh yes, that turns it into, yeah, that makes sense. It's chu. I'm not as comfortable with, and ki, of course, but I'm not as comfortable with katakana, so I'm gonna have to look those up. I'm still practicing those. The next one we're gonna look up is dog, and this has the components for big, and then it just kind of has a little this little dot or tick radical. So if you remember the dot or tick radical combined with big equals dog, I kind of just think like dogs are big, and it kind of looks like maybe a little spot on it, or like a tail or something. That's kind of how I look at it. And the kunami is ime. Inu. New. That's new. My bad. Mei doesn't have the little squiggly line on the right. Inu is dog. And the onyomi for it is ken. That's, yeah, ken. The next one we're going to look at is the one for person. So this actually, maybe we'll look over some words and vocabulary in a video soon. But this one is actually used in a lot of stuff that you learn right away, because you learn like to say like American person or a Japanese person, so that you can explain where you're from when you get asked that question. It's kind of like a beginner sentence. If you're going over Duolingo or Memrise, this will definitely come up like very early on. The kunyomi is hito, and I believe this is jin. The onyomi is jin. So jin for person, and hito for the kunyomi. So if you there's hitori, which means single person or alone. Hito, person. And then jin is what you use. So this one actually, the onyomi comes more often in the compound form. So if you put jin at the end of a country's name, then that means that that's a person from that country. Like, so Nihon is Japan, so Nihon jin means Japanese, or American jin or something would be, yeah, that would be like American. This one is name, and it's na or me. Wait, this is me? Me, yeah, me. And this is na. So, it is the radical for evening, I believe. Let's look at this. Is this evening? It is evening and mouth. So I just kind of think like during like romantic talks, you might say someone's name to them. So like at the evening when you're going to bed, you might say someone's name. So yeah, that's how I think of it, like night speaking. It's kind of weird, but that's my mnemonic for that one. Uses the radical for mouth and the radical for evening. May is a counter for people, so if you were like gonna count people, then you would use me, and na is name, and namae is the like full name. So like more often you'll see this one down here, and that's if somebody's like asking for your name, they'll go namae. Then we're gonna look at woman. This one is also a radical, so you'll see this in a lot of other kanji that we go forward in the future. This is one of the ones that it kind of looks like crossed legs, I guess. But this is one of the ones you just kind of have to remember. You might be able to figure out a mnemonic for it. I just kind of think of it like crossed legs, maybe. But this is kind of the ones I just hammered out and just kind of know, so I just remember it. It's used in all sorts of kanji that we will see later. And the word for it is onna, is the kunyomi. Onna, and we've got, so onna means female, so that's a woman, and jo would be the onyomi of it. So jo could also be also I guess it's a constellation. And this is the one for man. So I believe we've already seen these two, or maybe we haven't seen power yet, but this is the one on the bottom is the radical for power. Right here. That's something I think we saw 9, but we haven't saw power. 9 is very similar. 9 just comes out on the other side. So if you think of like powerful people working in the rice paddies, then you'll think of a man. So the males would traditionally be the ones that obviously do all like the farming and stuff like that. Women would participate as well, but if you think of like a farmer out in the rice fields, then you could think of a man. Contrarily, if you think that like men need to eat their greens to get powerful, men need to eat their rice to get powerful, that's another way you could think of it. For the kunyomi, we've got otoko. Otoko means man, and I guess it could also mean male lover, bloke, boyfriend, manliness. And then we've got dan. Dan means man in the onyomi. So one of they've got this word down here, which uses the onyomi, which is danshi. Danshi is youth or young man. Next is the kanji for child. This is also a radical, so it doesn't have any components. This one I actually don't have a mnemonic for. I'm trying to think of something. This is another one I kind of just pushed out. The kunyomi for it is ko. So ko means child, or I believe, give me 1 second here. Shit. So shit is the onyomi, ko is the kunyomi. Yeah, so that one there, I just kind of hammered it out, to be honest. This one is I, This is also another radical, so it doesn't have any components. But this one, it kind of looks like eyelids, and then the eye in the center. Like if you think your eye has like 3 parts to it, right? There's a lid on the bottom, lid on the top, and a slit in the center for you to see through. The pronunciation for the kunyomi is me, and then this one is, I know another one, the last one is ku. I can't remember what the first. Moku. Moku is the onyomi. So moku is an order or an item, and me is an eye. After that we have ear. I also think of this, it kind of looks like the shape of an ear. So like think of an eye, like you got the hole in the center, and you've got the like parts of the ear, but then you've got like 2 things that cut it off. This is also radical. I know it's kind of a weird way. And mimi is ear. That's the kunyomi. The onyomi is, I believe this is G. Yeah, G. The next one is mouth. We've seen this one before because we used it to explain another thing. So this box is a mouth, and it honestly to me just looks like it's another radical, but it just looks like an open mouth. So, and this one is kuchi. And that's the onyomi, or sorry, the kunyomi, and the onyomi is ko. Yeah, long ko. So ku can. There's also, I guess, another way to say it here. Yeah, ku. So ku can mean mouth, and kuchi is the onyomi. Now the next thing we're going to look at is hand, and again it's the radical for hand. This one honestly just looks like it's got a bunch of fingers sticking out of an arm. That's kind of how I look like it. It looks like the arm's coming up, and there's just a bunch of fingers. I know it's 6-fingered. Maybe think of it like the 6-fingered man. My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. Think of it like that. Think of the 6-fingered man and Inigo Montoya. That's how we'll remember that one. We'll never forget that. Yeah, and the kunyomi for it is, I believe this is te. Yeah, te. So te is hand, and we've got shu for the onyomi. Now we're gonna go to leg. So this one is another radical, but it's got, if you look at the parts inside of it, it kind of looks like the kanji for above and then mouth. So I was thinking like, if you look at the legs, then there's the mouth above. If that kind of makes sense. Like it's like the mouth sitting, it also kind of, yeah, it's like the mouth sitting on what's below the mouth. So mouth is above, what is below? Think of it like that, I guess. Ashi is the kunyomi, and soku is the onyomi. Ashi means foot or leg, and soku means counter for pairs, like socks, shoes. So how many? It's a counter. Next thing we're going to look at is C, or hopes. And I think, so it's got the, it is in itself a radical, but it's also got the radical for eye and the radical for legs, which is the 2 little things sticking out. It looks like legs. So I would say legs are like the action, and what is the action of the eye? It is to see. That's how I remember that one. If we look at the kunyomi, it's mi-uru. And the onyomi, again, I'm not as comfortable with katakana, is ken. So we've got ken is view, and we've got miuru is to see or to look. Next one we're going to look at is sound. This is a little weird. I kind of wish that like the one below it that was day was, I kind of wish that it was the ear, like instead of the day. But we've got the components here. Let's open these up real quick. We've got stand up and day. So I would say when you stand up in the day, it's because of your alarm, right? Like when you wake up in the morning. So sound is what gets you up for the day. do that. That's a good one, I guess. So this, what gets you up for the day? A sound. The sound of your alarm. And it's oto is the kunyomi. Oh, I clicked on that by accident. Oto. And this one is I think it's on. Yeah, on. On is the onyomi. So, oto is a sound or a noise. This one is power. So, I think it's just chikasa. Chikara, my bad. That's a ra, not sa. That's so chikara is the kunyomi, and this looks kind of like ryoku. Ryoku is the onyomi, and chikara is the kunyomi. So chikara means force, strength, might. And this one, honestly, to remember it, this is also its own radical. It kind of looks like 9, but the part on the bottom right is not shooting out like that. It's coming in. It just looks kind of like a guy standing and flexing his arm. So if you got your arm out, curved down, kind of showing your biceps. That's how I remember this one here. This one here is spirit. This one's kind of a weird one. It's got a lot of parts to it. It's got the kind of for me in it. So this is a spirit or stream radical. Yeah, I don't really know how to, maybe the X marks the soul stream or something like that. This one's kind of hard. Maybe look up. This one's one of the ones I didn't really have a mnemonic for. Sometimes I can't find a mnemonic and I can't think of a good one, so I honestly just practice it out. And it's one of the ones that I'm like, yep, there's going to be like, you know, quite a few probably that I can't think of a good mnemonic for, so those ones I just kind of hammer them out. We've got ki for the onyomi. Like ki. Charging your ki. And then we've got iki. So ki, or your kai power. But it's ki, because they don't say I. In Japanese, that's not how they pronounce that. Yeah, so we're going to move on to the next 10. The next one we're going to look at is circle, yen, and round. So I think of it more like yen, and then I think that yen is a circle, like coin, right? And uses the radical for open country. And if you think of like the two little boxes as like the trade of the open country, you can think of that like currency or yen, and then circle. It's kind of a long stretch on that one, but this might be one of the ones you just have to kind of commit to memory. We've got marui, and that means round or circular, and yen is n. N is yen. And N is the onyomi reading. Next one we're going to look at is enter. This is also another radical on its own, so there isn't really anything we can look at inside of it, but it kind of looks like a teepee tent. Looks inviting. Like you'd enter it. Yeah. So that's what it is. You'd enter it. For that one we've got iru is the kunyomi. Iru is to get in, to go in. And then we've got give me a second. Niu is the onyomi there. Next one we're going to look at is exit. So I kind of look at this as like two mountains stacked on top of each other, but if you think of it like the cave, then, or even like, yeah, it's got like the open mouth or the container on the bottom. So it's kind of like the exit of the bottom of the mountain, like the cave exit. That's how I look at it. So I think this is deru, but let me check to make sure we've got the right. Yep, deru. So deru is to leave, to exit. And then on the other end, One thing I dislike about katakana, so it's, yeah, shutsu. Shutsu is the onyomi. Shutsu means coming out, emerging, being born. So to emerge from something is that. One thing I dislike about katakana is these two symbols here. They look the same. There's another one that just has a singular little dot on it. It always drives me nuts. It's like the angle of the slant, which one's slightly slanted out more. Always drives me mad. Why did they choose symbols that look exactly the same? One of the reasons I dislike katakana more than hiragana, but whatever. You have to live with it. Next one we're going to look up is stand up to rise. We mentioned this one before in a previous kanji reading. So it's going to be tatsu is going to be the kunyomi, the primary kunyomi. There's a lot of other kunyomis. So tatsu is to stand, to rise, to stand up in front. And for this one we've got uritsu. Yeah, uritsu. Great, I got it. I read the right one. Yeah, uritsu is going to be the onyomi. For this one, I'm not sure if I explained it already, but it just looks like legs, and then like this is the hat or the crown, so it's crown, so it's like standing up. To, I don't know, to get your hat or something. This is rest or day off. It's got the so this is actually the one on the left there, the symbol on the left side. So obviously the one on the right is tree, the radical for tree, and the one on the left is actually radical for person. So when sometimes radicals can actually be written differently because they kind of get crushed into the kanji. So this one here is actually still the radical for person, even though it's like pulled, the left side is pulled up and placed on top. It's still the radical for person. So if we want to think of this one, the mnemonic for this one is that it just looks like somebody resting up against a tree. So if you're laying back against a tree, person on a tree, that's a rest. The pronunciation for it is yasumu. So yasumu is to be absent, to take a day off. And then we've also got kyu, which is rest. That's the onyomi. Kyu. Next one we're going to look at is before. So this one here is got the radical for legs. And then on top of that is the kanji for ground, if you remember the kanji for ground. So what I think of this is that when you walk on ground, you're walking where someone has been before. You're kind of like retracing someone's steps that has been before you. So that is, or you're there before someone. Like you're the first one. You're ahead of them because you're walking on the ground. Saki is the kunyomi, and sen is the onyomi. So sen is the former, the previous, the old, and saki is the previous, the prior, the former in the kun reading. Next one we're going to look at is evening. So if you remember, we also talked about this one before when we talked about name, because name was the what comes out of your mouth at night is someone's name. So this one here is evening. This is one of the ones I just kind of pounded out. It kind of looks like maybe like month, but not really tilted sideways. This is kind of the ones I just figured out. And it's going to be you and seki is the onyomi reading.
Seki.
So seki is traditional unit of volume, and evening is you. Next one we're going to look at is book. It's also present in main. It's going to be moto is a book. That's origin, source, base, basis, foundation, root, cause. And this one here, that's the kunyomi. And for the onyomi, we're han. So han means book or volume or script. So when I look at this one, I think of a tree, and then I think of one, because those are the two parts. So one tree. What one thing is made out of a tree? I think like book. So I think like basically a tree being pushed into an object, one object, and that object is a book. You can also think of it like the thing on the bottom is cross. So like holy books made out of trees, the Bible. You think of it like that. I'm not particularly religious, but yeah, I guess that's a good way to remember it. Next one we're going to look at is sentence, and again, this is one of the things that I just had to remember. It's got its own radical, and there's not really, I don't really have a mnemonic for it. I just pushed it out. It's gonna have fumi. It's gonna be its kunyomi reading, and its onyomi reading is bun. So bun is a sentence, composition, text, and fumi is letter or writings. Next one we're gonna look at is character, letter, word, section. So when I think of this one, I think that we're learning characters, so we're learning kanji. And I think we're learning kanji just like the kids do in school. So the components here are kids and the radical, which it doesn't mean anything. Radicals don't always mean anything, something. So sometimes they just are literally just like a symbol. It has absolutely no meaning, but it's a common kind of piece that they use in kanji. So this is the one for roof or crown. So when I think like it's kind of like a hat. And I think that the kids are putting on their thinking caps to learn characters just like we are. We are putting on our thinking caps. Yeah, so that's going to be it. Actually, I'll go over the kunyomi and the onyomi, sorry. So the kunyomi is going to be aza, and the onyomi is going to be za. I think this is, oh no, ji, my bad. Ji. So ji is a character, and aza is a section of a village. I hear the stroke orders down here. I'm going to finish off this video. Those are the 30. Make sure you practice them on Anki. Just keep hammering them out. I'm going to be doing the same. And I will see you in the next video tomorrow, doing the next 30. Trying to do 30 a day. It's going to be rough. We might have to slow down, but so far it's so good. This is Brandon signing off. See you tomorrow.